As much as you may not like this fact, sometime during your teaching career as an adaptive, or also called therapeutic horseback riding instructor, you are going to encounter a time that you should be saying no or not right now to a student, and oftentimes not only the student, but also their parent or caregiver that's associated with them. How easily that conversation happens and how well you're able to follow through with that no or not right now depends on a lot of different factors. So how old are you? How much experience do you have confronting and having tough conversations that have to do with saying no or not right now? How much experience do you have as an instructor, or even just in a role where you're having to communicate and manage and be in that leadership position? And a big piece too is your natural personality and what your tendencies are when encountering tough situations. So in this discussion, I hope to share some information that will better prepare you for the next time you have to say no or not right now to your students, and also set you up for success on following through with that answer, and hopefully not feel like you're going to get pushed around or kind of bulldozed by students or their parents or caregivers, either intentionally or unintentionally. It can happen both ways. And also be sharing some situations where I've had to say no or not right now. They usually center around very similar things, so I'll share personal experiences from there. And just to be fully transparent with you, I do not like confrontation. That is not my nature in general. I like to keep everybody happy. I don't like having those tough conversations, and I fully admit that in the past, I used to err on being a pushover because that was at the time what I thought was the easier way out. But in the long run, it really wasn't. And it just kind of pushed the can or kicked the can down the road. And then I eventually had to confront a tough situation, which then actually usually blew up even bigger because I didn't want to confront it then. So hopefully the information here is going to help you out to help you avoid those situations. Or if you've already had that situation where you should have said no or not right now, it'll help you better prepare for the next time that you are going to face it. Because like I said, it's going to happen sometime sooner or later. And if it hasn't happened yet, maybe it should have happened and you just are not prepared to face that yet. So a little bit about me. My name is Sabra Popoli, and I'm the owner and founder of Hoof Falls and Footfalls. And through Hoof Falls and Footfalls, I strive to educate, equip, and encourage fellow instructors, specifically those that offer adaptive or therapeutic horseback riding and horsemanship lessons, not only here in the United States, where I'm based out of, but also around the globe. And I want to equip you guys with the education and the tools and the knowledge that is going to help you go out and professionally and safely serve whatever type of student that you're working with, whether it's a student enrolled in more of a traditional program, or it's a student who has a different and unique physical, cognitive, or emotional ability that you're having to teach to when you're out there working with them. And here on my channel, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast, or you're listening in the Intuitive Instructor Club, and then you're going to do the recap quiz afterwards to get a certificate of completion. If this video has brought value to you as an instructor, please make sure you drop a comment down below. Feel free to share it with other instructors, just so I know that this type of topic is helpful to you guys. And also, if you're on one of my free channels like YouTube or the podcast, this is free to you guys. And this is my way of giving back to you guys, helping you learn from mistakes and experiences I've encountered. So hopefully you guys can kind of skip through those and get you guys light years ahead in your teaching journey. All right, so let's talk about the topic of having to say no or not right now to a student. So recently, a situation that I have encountered where I've had to say no or not right now is I teach a few sibling groups where the siblings come out, and the structure that they're actually both of the sibling groups are in is they come out, we groom and we tack together, and then they take turns riding individually during the mounted portion of the lesson, because they're not at a point yet where we are going to be riding together in a semi-private lesson, because I like to get my students to a certain skill level before we combine. So it just so happened that these sibling groups were assigned to a specific horse I have, where just through the years of working with him and knowing who he is and just how he works best, I know that this horse rides better and sets the students up for more success and easier transitions if the student or the sibling with longer legs goes first. Kind of gets them rolling, gets them woken up, and gets them a little bit more sensitized in a good way to the next student who might be younger, usually, probably a little shorter leg, maybe not as much strength. And so what I've discovered over the years of working with him is that if I have the student with the longer legs go first, it sets that younger student up with the shorter legs for more success in that second ride, where I don't have to intervene quite as much with body language or external cues to kind of help that horse. And I still have to, but if I don't have to step in as much, it can be really empowering for that student to do it more on their own. So sibling groups tend to request to alternate, and if I can accommodate, I will. So alternating means that 1 week student A will go first and student B will go second. And then the following week they swap and student B goes first during the ride, and then student A goes second during the ride. So if I'm able to do so with the horse, with the assignments, timing, all of that, sure, happy to make that happen. Taking turns is great. That can be a really good thing as well. But in some situations, I just can't because of that horse that we're assigned. I just know that in my instructor brain, I have a very valid reason why I am choosing not to have them alternate. And I will explain that I hear them and I understand why they want to take turns and trade off. But here's why it's a no, or maybe a not right now in this situation. And then I'll ask if they understand, have them repeat it back to me, and then we're good to go. This type of situation can also happen when we encounter, why is my student not riding offline yet or independently? Or why are they not trotting yet? Or why are they not trotting off the lunge line yet? I do a lot of fundamentals of trotting on the lunge line first before they ever turn loose on their own. Same thing with riding out of my arm's reach or offline, more independent. There are things that we have to have in place before we can safely do that. Same thing, before we even go from walk to trot, if we ever do trot, there are things that I need to see first before I say yes and we can do that. So no matter what the situation is, whether it's alternating who rides first, or trotting, or riding independently, or whatever it is. Something that I have learned over the years is to be very, very diligent and very clear and upfront with giving my whys of why it is a no or a not right now at that time. And then also what are kind of our markers that I'm going to be looking for where that might change my answer to a, hey, let's assess, and it's maybe a maybe or a yes even now. So that has been a huge thing that set me up for success as an instructor, is making sure I'm being very clear and transparent about my whys and kind of the hows, or those markers of what could change my answer. And that has forced me as the instructor to make sure that my reasoning of why I'm saying no or not right now isn't just because I just don't feel like doing that right now, or I'm uncertain, but I don't have a really solid logical why behind it. It's helped me check myself as an instructor to make sure I'm actually making the best decision for my students, and I'm not just maybe taking the shortcut and taking the easy way out, or that I may be being a little bit too cautious, because I am definitely on that cautious bubble wrap side naturally. I have worked to step away from that, but voicing my why and thinking through that has really helped me find kind of that middle ground there where I'm still safe, but I'm not overprotecting, but also not over progressing my students too quickly. So saying that why. And I've gotten really good too at not even just when they ask if they can do X, Y, Z, of saying the why, but also being proactive in if we're not riding independently at a walk yet, or already, recognizing that siblings are probably going to ask to trade, I'm going to be proactive and say, hey, this is a no or not right now because blah, 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 whatever it is. And I will let the students hear it. And then I also try to tactfully say it where the parents or the caregivers can hear it, or go over to them before or after a lesson and just let them know that we talked about that topic. So that has been a huge change in how I address situations like this, is being proactive, making sure my whys are well thought out, and then also verbalizing those benchmarks of what I'm looking for when that answer is going to change. Another thing that I do much differently now as well is sometimes students and even their parents or their caregivers are either unknowingly pushy to try to get the answer, the outcome that they want, or very intentionally try to push boundaries to get you to cave and do what they want you to do. As an instructor, it is my job to know why I'm doing things the way I'm doing, and I'm the professional in that situation. And so I need to have a firm, confident belief in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So when I tell my students that, no, we're not doing this right now, and here's the whys, and then like I said earlier, I have them repeat it back to me so I can make sure that they understand, that then sets me up for the next time they ask me the same or very, very similar question, which is likely going to happen because it's human nature. They're probably going to check in and see if it's still a no or still a not right now, because they are curious and they want to see if the answer changes. Or maybe some of the students, they're used to, if they ask enough, that the parent or the adult figure or authority figure, I'm not their parent, but speaking from a mom position, my kids do this to me. They feel like if they ask enough, that adult or authority figure is going to just cave and be like, fine, we'll do it. So what I'll do is the next time that student asks the question again of, hey, can we trade? And the scenario hasn't changed. They're still with the same horse. The leg length hasn't changed or whatever it is. Or, hey, can I trot? And I still haven't seen those benchmarks that I need to see before we trot. I'm going to repeat the answer back of, hey, I remember you asked, if you can remember, 2 lessons ago when we were going to trot. And remember that the answer right now is not right now because I'm looking to see some things from your writing. Do you remember what those are, the things that I'm looking for? So I'm going to try to draw that information out of them. I could also ask them, hey, I remember the last time you asked and stuff hasn't changed. You're still on the same horse, or like, hey, we haven't seen these things yet. So what's the answer going to be? And they answer no, or maybe they honestly don't remember. That's okay. I'll give them the answer again. I'll give them my whys, and I'll give them the benchmarks of what I'm looking for. And then I will for sure make them repeat it back to me as best as they can. And this applies even for students that might be cognitively involved. We have that conversation as best as possible. And I will usually then for sure follow up with parents and caregivers afterwards of, hey, Johnny asked this question again. I'm just reminding him and wanted to reinforce with you guys and let you, fill you in on our conversation of this was the answer. This is why it's a no or a not right now. And here's the benchmarks that we're looking for. Johnny was able to repeat them back to me. And just to let you know, until factors change, that this is going to be the answer moving forward. Usually it kind of ends there. Sometimes you might have a student ask again, or even a parent or caregiver push again to ask, well, when's my student trotting, or when are we doing XYZ? So then I get a little bit more blunt and say, hey, we had this conversation. The factors are the same. You're still with the same horse. We're still, working on these skills. Do you remember what the answer was at that time? And usually I've even from some students, I'll get an eye roll and like, ugh, all right, she's not giving in. You said no. Yeah, great. Good memory. And then I just move on. Same thing with parents. They'll usually, oh yeah, you said it was a no because of this. And so that in my brain, I kind of tag it, okay, we're kind of getting to where we're maybe pushing boundaries and I might have to be a little bit more firm. Again, not rude or anything along those lines at all, but I just know that I'm going to have to get a little stronger than what I usually am and just be ready to face that uncomfortable situation. So then if it happens again later on down the road, I'm again more direct and more blunt because they already answered that they knew what the answer was, that it was a no or not right now at this time. And then they'll have probably already repeated those benchmarks back. We could maybe rehash the benchmarks and say, hey, I'm seeing 2 out of the 3 that I need to see, but not all of them yet. But if they ask again, and I know we have already established what the answer is, they're aware of the benchmarks, I'm being really good in lessons about verbalizing what I'm seeing, when I'm seeing it. Hey, we're not quite there yet on this one, but I know you want to trot, or I know you want to do whatever the skill is. Then it'll be, hey, we've already had this conversation. My answer's not changing. And hey, let's go get on and ride. And I just shut it down right there. So I don't engage in further discussion if I know I have done my part in communicating well as the instructor of what the answer is, what those factors are, and also what the whys are and any benchmarks we're looking for. So be careful of kind of getting into that back and forth negotiation where you might get pushed around, especially if you are with someone who is a little bit stronger personality than you are and more assertive and might be a little bit more tactful with words. They might try to talk you into backing down on your stance as the instructor. And coming from that, I've experienced that. So I've been in that position as a younger instructor, also as more of a timid person. Before I practice that, I mean, I still naturally am. It takes a lot of energy for me to not be timid when I'm facing people out in a instructor role. And then I come back inside and I'm exhausted, and that was like emotionally draining for me, but it does get better, I promise. But having been there, I know how that can get pushed by the student or by their parents or by their caregivers or all together. So if I know that I've done my job as the instructor and taken those proactive steps and been very clear about communication and very professional about the whole situation, I feel better about really being firm on my boundaries and sticking to that answer. So it takes practice. It does get easier over time, at least it has for me. If you are naturally a non-confrontational person and this is something you've been working on, let me know how it's changed over time for you. And if it has gotten better, I hope it has. I know other instructors that I've talked to that they also are naturally kind of that way. They say that it usually gets better as well. So hopefully that's some encouragement of as you get more practice and as you just get kind of like that inoculation to having those uncomfortable conversations, it gets better. And then also remember too, that if you're having to encounter that situation now, you're hopefully heading off a situation before it gets bigger in the future. And you're eventually going to have to face something with that student or with that parent. I'd rather face it head on, first situation we have, and then we have a very clear working relationship moving forward. So let me know if this was helpful information. Hopefully it was encouragement and also is going to give you a way to set yourself up for success in the future and also be proactive, hopefully, in preventing situations where you might feel like you're getting more pushback from the student or from the parents or caregivers. And also maybe you were missing a step of not fully informing them why the answer was a no or a not right now and what those benchmarkers were that you're looking for or are looking for. So hopefully this was helpful information to make a sometimes uncomfortable situation more comfortable, or at least make you feel more prepared and like you are doing the right thing as an instructor. So make sure you comment down below wherever you are watching or listening, whether it's YouTube, podcasts, in the Intuitive Instructor Club. If you're in the ISE, make sure you do your recap quiz at the end to earn your certificate of completion. And I would love to hear from you, your thoughts on this conversation and this topic. And also make sure that you comment down below if there are any other specific topics that you want to talk about as it relates to horseback riding, teaching, and instruction theory, adaptive, or also called therapeutic horseback riding or horsemanship, lesson management, equine management as it relates to our wonderful equine coworkers that we work alongside, student management, and anything along those lines. I love to hear from you guys because this topic has been a conversation I've had with multiple instructors, and I've also had to overcome and continue to work on myself as an instructor. So thank you again for tuning in and just giving me your ear and your time, and it's much appreciated. And I will see you on the next instructor chat here on Hoof Falls and Footfalls.